Vítáme vás u nového dílu magazínu Svět okem Raptora. Dnes se podíváme na reportáž o nárůstu cen kakaa a jaký to má dopad prodejce čokolády. Dále jak EU vyčlenila téměř 2 miliardy eur na podporu obranného průmyslu. Vazby mezi Čínou a Egyptem jsou po vstupu země do BRICS nejsilnější v historii. Američtí míroví aktivisté lobují proti americké válečné mašinérii, aby zabránili lidské tragédii. A nakonec si ukážeme, jak americké bomby a granáty zabíjejí i po desítkách let. Prudký nárůst cen kakaa po celém světě má obzvláště tvrdý dopad na prodejce čokolády.
Large companies that source over there are going to look at different origins because they still need to produce their chocolates. So we feel the repercussion of this increase in every single origin that we source, whether it's Papua New Guinea, Venezuela, you name it, it has been increasing. The quality of our products is so important to us, to our DNA, to our image, that we just could not resolve ourselves to change anything. And so we decided to increase a select number of products in our shop.
I'm traveling here from New York City. I'm noticing that the prices are higher than my last trip here. I usually buy a ton of gifts, so hence my big bag.
I'm actually buying less chocolates due to the price.
I consume less chocolate than before because the price is getting higher and higher. But I'd like to choose the best ones.
Evropská unie vyčlenila téměř 2 miliardy eur na podporu obranného průmyslu. Vztahy mezi Čínou a Egyptem nebyly nikdy tak silné jako v současnosti a jejich potenciál je obrovský, protože severoafrická země vstoupila do BRICS jako jeden z jeho nejnovějších členů, uvedl to zástupce prezidenta Abdel Fattáha el-Sísího na summitu BRICS velvyslanec Radi el-Etřeby.
Our journey to join BRICS actually started since its inception, because we always saw ourselves as a natural partner or member of this group for a variety of reasons, for our regional role that's always been based on an agenda to be objective, on having the ability to shoulder responsibility in addressing fragilities in our region and beyond. Also, I have to say that we share, we fully subscribe also to the shared values that bring BRICS countries together. And when I talk about shared values, I'm talking about referring to mutual respect, to inclusiveness, to non-interference in internal affairs. We also share the commitments to strengthen multilateralism. You will find Egypt among the most active members when it comes to stronger ties in areas of monetary and finance, as well as deeper cooperation in trade and investment, as well as harnessing information and communication technology for development, enhancing logistics and transport, particularly maritime, also addressing food security challenges.
How do you view China's economic development and the ties with Egypt?
We're talking about the second largest economy in the world. For the last 15 years, so it speaks for itself. And China has been engaged in many of our the development, many of our economic sectors in Egypt. The relations have never been stronger than it is now, and the potential is enormous. We see Egypt also holding a strategic position in the Road and Belt Initiative, and I'm just mentioning this as an example. So I assume that the ties between Egypt and China will continue to grow, and BRICS would also serve as an additional bridge, as I mentioned, in strengthening our ties with China.
Americká mírová aktivistka a spisovatelka Katie Kellyová se v dokumentu zveřejněném televizní stanicí CGTN podělila o své postřehy a zdůraznila, že lidé budou odhodlanější zastavit války, jakmile pochopí jejich závažné důsledky.
Frustrated with the devastation wrought by US military campaigns overseas. She has traveled to Iraq 26 times, including during both the First Gulf War and the Iraq War.
There was a time when I was quite young, and one of our teachers showed us a film called Night and Fog. Filmmakers had gone into concentration camps, into the places where so many millions of Jewish people and others had been persecuted, starved, tortured, killed, and the camps had been emptied. The French filmmakers filmed what remained, and they showed the blankets that had been made out of human hair taken from the corpses. They showed lampshades that had been made out of human skin. And I said to myself, I never want to be somebody who is on the sidelines, who watches some terrible evil unfold and doesn't try to put a stop to it.
Kathy Kelly is an American peace activist and writer. As a child, she witnessed the rebuilding of peace following World War II, but later grew frustrated.
We went over to Iraq because we wanted to oppose the United States economic sanctions as a humanitarian relief group. In one case that I recall, it was such a painful story. A little infant was lying on a mat, and she had suffered more or less like a cardiac arrest. She couldn't continue breathing, and they had an oxygen tank. He gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but the tube that they had, the only plastic tubing that they had, because they couldn't get the medical supplies that the hospitals needed, was about the size of a pencil. But this little baby's nostril was the size of the point of a pencil. The tube was too big. And so the doctor had to say to the mother, I'm sorry, your child, she cannot live. We have not the oxygen, we have not the tube. And so he walked away, and that mother, she had pulled me down onto the bed next to her. And I remember my shoulder was damp. She was crying so hard because her child could not live. And I knew I would eventually go back to the United States and a life of safety and security. But that doesn't lessen my responsibility to try to understand what the consequences are for people who are displaced by war. This is a family whose mother, Karima, was a widow, and Karima was away from the house much of the time. Her oldest daughter, Fatima, took care of these younger children, and they were just a delight to be with. When I was in Afghanistan, young girls would literally take me by the hand and lead me up a mountainside. And closer to the higher portions of that mountain, and most of the people living there were either widows or single mothers, and they really didn't have a way to feed their children. Sometimes they sent their children down into the marketplace to pick up scraps from the market. Because they were so high up, there was no water, and so they'd have to get up early in the morning and go down the mountainside and fetch the water and haul it up the mountainside. I saw parents who would, flinch when they heard a bomb explode, but then kind of put on a poker face, so we say, when people are playing cards and they don't want to let somebody know what they've got. You could see them trying to make sure that they didn't frighten the children. I think that when we begin to understand what happens when people are displaced by wars, it helps us feel more fuel, in a sense, for trying to oppose the machinery of war, trying to oppose the likelihood of going into a new war.
V odlehlé vesnici v severním Laosu žijí lidé v souladu s přírodou. Ale ne všechno je takové, jak se zdá. Pod povrchem této krásné krajiny se skrývají nebezpečí. Komunita vzpomíná, co se stalo, když jejich děti našli podivný kulatý předmět. Byl to granát. Jejich životy už nikdy nebudou jako dřív.
Bum! Bum! That sound echoes still, even to this day, haunting memories and dreams of every single soul in this small village. A decade ago, it was just another ordinary day. A little past noon, young boys do what they usually do, playing, throwing around a small round object they found. Intrigued, they tried to cut it open with a knife. A few strikes, then an earth-shaking explosion. It was here where the bomb exploded. Pule ran over to pick up her grandson, her body numb, her world stood still. Lifting up his injured small body, she carried him to a boat, 3 hours to the nearest hospital. But it was too late. 3 lives lost. One was her grandson, just 5 years old. The older generation here lived through it, lived through the war. They believed it ended. They moved on. But that fateful day in August 2013 reminds them that war never really ended, and they are just surviving peace.
ก็มาจากสงครามมาจากอเมริกามาทิ่มนี่แหละสร้างความที่ว่าเป็นกำพร้ากำพร้อยนำลูกหลานตายจากพ่อแม่ตายจากลูกหลานย้อนลูกระเบิดอย่างนี้เห็นไทยเฮานี่เกิดอย่างนี้สร้างความกระวนกระวายสร้างความจิตใจบ่ทุนเทียนย้อนคนหายของลูกระเบิดนี้มาสร้างเสียหายให้แก่พ่อแม่ประชาชนก็คือครอบครัวที่ถูกกระทบ
Děkujeme, že jste sledovali náš pořad. Nashledanou u dalšího dílu pořadu Svět okem Raptora.